Angela, who doesn't need a lot of introduction because a lot of you have got the t-shirts. Here she is.
Hello everybody, so I wish I was the kind of woman who can speak like that and doesn't need notes, and it's really not me, so I'm going to hold on to that in case I get lost, which might happen. My name is Angela Wild. I'm a lesbian feminist activist, an artist and a writer. I'm one of the women who decided that lying down in front of Pride in London a few years ago was a good idea. I think it was. And I also run the radical feminist activist shop, Wild Women Workshop. And I've been asked by Jean to speak here, and I'm really grateful because it's very rare to hear women speaking about their art, especially in a feminist context, and it's very important. I think there's a lot of emphasis on lobbying, there's a kind of feminism that is really valued, and art is generally not that valued, and I think it's really important, so thank you for that space. And I've been asked a little bit to talk about how I got into doing this kind of activism, the art and direct action that gets us called TERFs all the time. And I was recalling as I was writing this stuff, and I'm clearly not reading, well, 10 years ago there was a couple of incidents that happened that really got me into this. So 10 years ago was really influential, like a really important time in my life. I was pregnant, first of all. I was in an abusive relationship with a man. I was trapped in that marriage. And I was also already a radical feminist activist, and that proved to be a really important part of me being able to escape that man, heterosexuality, and become even more radical. And I was then involved in a group of women who organized a radical feminist conference in 2012 that maybe you've heard about. It was called Radfem 12. I basically did the merch and the visual for it. And Julia Long was involved. It was basically Julia Long's conference. Lilian Timmerman was in it. Who was there as well? Lisa Marie Taylor from Philia. So it was a women-only conference, and it was going to be there was going to be a talk there about transgenderism. And Sheila Jeffrey was flying all the way from Australia, so it was quite a big deal. And it's not going to be a surprise to you now. That of course, it was a surprise to me at the time, we were targeted straight away by trans activists. We lost the venue, we had to organize underground, and it was the first time I was really faced with that in 2011 and 12. And it was not lost on me that it was not MRA, the normal MRA that was targeting us, but it was trans activists. So I never really peaked, I never thought that men could be women. But they never were in my radar politically until that moment where they chose to target a woman-only space. That was a political space, and we know they've just carried on, so, without stopping all these years. So that was the first kind of really big moment where I realized there was something politically happening. And then a few months after, as I was escaping that, about to escape that violent relationship, I had a very small baby. I was really struggling. The first years of this life were really horrible. I left the fucker when my baby was 6 months old, and declared myself a lesbian. Yeah. At that time, but I was still, it was still really early days, and I was just desperate for anything that would just get me out of this life. And I found this talk at the Royal College of Art at the time. About art and feminism, and I thought, right, I really need to go, so I braced myself, go there, pram, baby and all, in this temple of queer walk. Can you imagine, like the Radfem Mums Netter with the baby and the pram, and everybody else is queer. And, really self-conscious, I arrive in the thing, I just sit down right at the back, by the exit, on the side of the corridor, in case I need to make a quick exit, and I wait, and then who shall just chair this panel? A man in a dress. A man in a flowery dress, I remember. I don't remember his name, but it was the first time in real life that this was coming to me. And the artist was, she was doing visual with collage of women from pictures she found in the media. So you would assume it's like a critique of objectification of women, but I never found out. So the guy asked her the first question, 2 minutes in, what is feminism to you? And she just doesn't reply. She goes, oh, you know that quote of Rebecca West? I never found out what feminism is. She basically just blanks it. And I was like raging, thinking, you know, you're in like this big academic place, the disrespect, the fact that these people were unable to name the terms of the debate, unwilling to define what feminism is, the insulting thing about like centuries of feminism that was just brushed away because she couldn't say it, probably because he was around, I don't know. I was really, really outraged by this. I just remember thinking of all the women I knew who could have just jumped on that stage and said, oh, you know, that is feminism, I can define it, I could have done that. And it was really the starting point where I thought of myself as a feminist artist, thinking, well, the bottom line is I would never get in there. The thing is, if you can define feminism, you're not going to be into the institution. Patriarchy is just going to get offended. If you're going to start naming men as the perpetrators, they're not going to platform you. So it was really how I started as a feminist artist, knowing that the fringe is where we are, where I would be, that I would never be inside. And it really got me thinking about cancel culture, and we hear a lot about that, and I need to drink. We hear a lot about cancel culture and how we hear about the visible side of it, but what is it? Like, I think cancel culture really clearly, very easily defined as patriarchy, gatekeeping, free speech, and that if you're a woman, you know, you're more likely to be to be cancelled. And we hear about the visible side, very high-profile women, because they have like great talent and a lot of hard work, managed to break through and make a name for themselves. But that name is really only just given if they remain silent on the thing that really matters to us, the violence, male violence. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm getting at. Because the invisible side of cancel culture is women like us, like all of us, where, you know, these day-to-day discriminatory practices where you just don't get in. It's not new that women artists are not in the museum. Like, they are not in the museum, they get cancelled now, but there's already, 90% of painting are done by men, so it's a culture that is like this. And you see it when it's high-profile women losing their platform, but actually, this is our culture. It's also like being in a gender critical movement, feminist movement that there is a critique of gender, and being active for 10 years before suddenly, but some media start to realize that there are some women over there down there in the corner that are not so happy about it. We've been doing this for 10 years. And yeah, so I did like a lot of direct action that were a lot of it being underground, and I was very scared, like everyone when you start, I think. And also when I started, the context is I knew 6 women who were ready to do direct action in this country. We were 6. And I'm so delighted that today we are so many that I don't know everybody, but there was a long time where you could count women in one hand and you knew everyone. And in 2017, so about 5 years ago, Liane from Get the Hell Out, who's a good friend of mine, basically bought me my first badge machine, and she just told me to get on with it. She said, you know, this is what you need to do, you know you need to do it, get on with it, as she does. So I did this, and the reason I chose to do this, there's several reasons. One of it is that I was still healing, and we were saying, do you ever stop healing? But the reason that it's really good when you're self-employed is that when you're not well, and sometimes you're not well for days on, week on, month on, you can just carry on being active in your own time, where I could not have in the first years worked in an employee position. I just wasn't well enough. I also knew that I wanted to do art and feminism. This is really my mission in life, and it's meaningful to me. I didn't want to do a job that didn't didn't carry these values. I didn't want to put my art for the service of any other ideology. And also, I think art has got this very, very special way of communicating that words maybe don't manage, but it's something really accessible in an image that everybody can really relate to, and that
instantly.
Yes, that is very direct and instinctive, and also what I'm really, really happy about is the fact that I try to do art that is democratic. Like, it's all nice to be in a gallery. I'm not saying I wouldn't like to be in one, but to have your work worn by women everywhere. Your street is your gallery. Like, we've got the world. We've got the world. Why do we need to be in museums that are going to reject us anyway? So take the space. Take the space with your own work as well. So that's that. No, it's not. Oh yeah, you wanted me to tell you about like the shit that happened with my shop. Yeah, I've been targeted from the beginning. I've lost pretty much everything. I actually lost my Twitter account today. But I've lost my Etsy account very early on because I had badges that say protect women only spaces. So that's clearly just too radical. I've been targeted, like all my social media accounts, really regularly targeted. I've lost, I've received like death threats, you know what the story, death threat, arson threat. I've been told to kill myself. I've been told to step on a Lego last week. I've got like young trans activists harassing me all the time, placing fake orders, trying to figure out what my address is. It's ridiculous. My address is on my website. Go and find it. It's my return address. It's a legal requirement to have it, so don't waste your time. Completely mad. And then when I was listening to Joolz and to you, Ronnie, I thought, really what is important to me is that, first of all, we've got the truth. So to me, it doesn't really matter how many death threats I'm going to get. I don't care. Like, you can call me a TERF, you can call me a Nazi. I don't give a shit. How many times are you going to call women transphobic, What difference does it make? The truth is still the truth, and I'm at the stage where it doesn't affect me at all anymore. When it has affected me, though, I have to say the sisterhood is something that's really been very, very powerful, and I find that Twitter, even if it's a shitty place in so many ways, like, we've really taken that space, and I feel it's the one place where I want to be in. Somehow we've really, really made a big difference there. And then there's J.K. Rowling, and I'm sure you want to hear secrets of that secret lunch, but I don't have any. I just want to say that from one woman to another, like, obviously it's made a big difference to my life in terms of finance, in terms of exposure, in terms of me being able to live off my art. But what I really see is a woman who was a single mom, domestic violence survivor, who's made it through her art, who's given support to another woman who was a single mom, who is still a single mom, also a survivor of domestic violence, and that's the sisterhood, and that's all I can say.